Alrighty, we have covered t, we've covered d, and now we're finishing the elision series with h. And this one is a little bit different from the last two because elision of h isn't about consonant clusters. It's about specific words, and those words just happen to come up constantly in everyday conversations. As always, I'm Amanda, a certified accent specialist, and I've been helping thousands of students with Australian English pronunciation since 2020. This is part 6 of my Connected Speech series, and today we're finishing up with the elision series. Let's get started. So when does h drop? H or h elision in Australian English happens in two specific types of words. And because these words are so common, this is one of those rules that will genuinely change how you listen to Australian English. Rule 1, with the pronouns he, him, his, and her. These are also known as function words, which naturally get reduced or rushed in fast speech anyway. When these pronouns sit in the middle of a sentence in an unstressed position, the h drops and the pronoun links directly to the next word. Vowel after h gets connected to the consonant sound of the word before it. Listen to these examples. I wanted to remember what he said. Not what he said, it's whatty. And then the t here can be what he said, whatty, or whatty. I'm using a T flat. This is very natural for me. I've got a video on that linked up top. I wanted to remember what he said. I met her at the park. So we're again taking the t from the end of met, linking it to the vowel from her, and then take it one step further with linking. I'm using a linking R of her, linking it with at. I met her at the park. And again, my T here is a T flat. The boss let her leave early. Let her. There's a bit of a pattern here with those T flap sounds. The boss let her. Let her with a regular t or true t, or let her with a T flap. The boss let her leave early. Does he know what he's going to do? Does he? Does he? The h drops. Does he? Know what he's going to do. Let's take it one step further, and instead of going to, let's say gonna. Does he know what he's gonna do? Does he know what he's gonna do? Don't ask him about it. Ask him. The h or h drops. We take the k from ask, link it to in. Don't ask him about it. Tom lost his book. Lost is, taking the t at the end of lost, shifting it to the vowel of his, which is. Tom lost his book. Say it with me. What he said. Met her. Ask him. Lost his. Now here's the important exception to the rule, because of course there's an exception, it's English. If the pronoun comes at the very start of a sentence, or if it's being stressed for emphasis, the h or h stays. So he wasn't aware of it, keeps the h because he is the first word. He wasn't aware of it. We're not British, we're not saying he wasn't aware of it, which is only just like a couple of accents that drop the h anyway. And I didn't ask you, I asked him. It keeps the h on him because it's stressed. We're stressing for emphasis. The h only drops in fast speech when it's a function word, when it's unstressed and sitting in the middle of a sentence. And rule number 2 is the auxiliary verb have. This one appears constantly in contractions and modal verb phrases. When have is unstressed, the h drops and the word reduces right down. You're almost linking it with a schwa sound. Have a listen. We might have missed the bus. Might have. Not might have, unless of course you want to stress have. It's might have. We might have missed the bus. You should have seen it. Not you should have seen it. Again, stressing for emphasis is a different rule. You should have seen it. Should have. We're taking the D from should, linking it to that kind of schwa sound that's in there. Of. Should have. He must have known. Not he must have known. He must have known. He must have known. What have you been up to? Instead of what have you been up to, what have. What have you been up to? She's too smart to have stolen it. To have stolen it. To have gets reduced. To have, to have. She's too smart to have stolen it. So say it with me. Might have, should have, must have. You'll notice that with that schwa sound of, it's actually the same pronunciation of the function word of when it gets reduced of. Now, it does sound like might of, should of, must of. That's actually why so many people spell them that way when they write informally, but it's actually grammatically incorrect. They're hearing the H dropped version and writing what they hear. The H is gone and what's left is just that soft of sound. But if you're writing, write the contraction. If you're writing full form, write have. Practice time. This one's a social scenario. A couple of friends catching up after work, talking about a mutual colleague. First, just listen. Did he call you back? I think he must have forgotten. Samara said he told her he'd handle it, but honestly, he should have handed it off weeks ago. Ask him about it on Monday. See what he says. Now I'll read it again slowly with the H elision moments marked. Did he call you back? I think he must have forgotten. Samara said he told her he'd handle it, but honestly, he should have handed it off weeks ago. Ask him about it on Monday. See what he says. And now shadow along with me at natural speed. Did he call you back? I think he must have forgotten. Samara said he told her he'd handle it, but honestly, he should have handed it off weeks ago. Ask him about it on Monday. See what he says. So let's recap. Elision of H happens with two types of words. Rule 1, the pronouns or function words he, him, his, and her, when they're unstressed and sitting in the middle of a sentence. Rule 2, the auxiliary verb have in unstressed positions, giving you sounds like might have, should have, must have. The H stays when the word is stressed or at the start of a sentence. Otherwise, it's gone. And that wraps up the elision series. We've covered t, d, and h. Between this series and the linking videos before it, you now have a really solid foundation in connected speech. The sounds you've been mishearing in fast Australian English, you know what they are now. And if you want to keep building on this in a structured way with lessons that go beyond connected speech into every sound, rhythm, and pattern in Australian English, that's exactly what the Australian Pronunciation Studio is built for. 6 months, comprehensive video lessons, live group sessions with me, homework feedback, practice drills, shadowing audio, and a community of learners doing the same work. Places open in rounds, so head to the link in the description to find out more and see when the next intake is. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers!